Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your day. I want to thank you for being on this journey, for being invested in yourself. It is a joy to be able to walk with you, to be able to share with you, to be able to grow with you, and give you some insight, some nuggets, some possibilities. I do hope that this podcast is helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these new podcasts. If you're on one of the listening platforms, follow us, give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platforms people are listening, and you get notifications when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, as always, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I truly would love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com. It's got all my contact information. Talks about what I do, shows some direction. If you want to do some coaching or have some questions, however I can reach out, however I can help out, please reach out to me. I would truly love to hear from you. I want to welcome us back into this series on discipline. And we've been talking about discipline in our personal lives, your habits, mindset, growth. Today, I want to move our shift from inward to outward. Because discipline doesn't just shape our lives, it shapes our relationships as well. Discipline shapes our friendships, our family connections, our work relationships, our marriages, and our partnerships. Here's the truth. Healthy relationships are not built on feelings alone. Would love to think that they are, but they're not. Healthy relationships are not built on feelings alone. They're built on more than that. They're built on a consistent, disciplined action. Healthy relationships are built on consistent, disciplined actions. Today, we're going to talk about that. Today, I want to dig into that a little bit more. I want to go into what that looks like and how discipline can strengthen every relationship in your life. So let's start with this. Most people think relationships are built on big moments, special events, deep conversations, important milestones. And those matter. They truly do. They are so important in the life of a relationship. But what truly builds strong relationships is consistency. Consistency. Showing up regularly. Checking in with each other. Being present. Following through. It's the small things that are done repeatedly. Because trust isn't built overnight. Trust is built over time. And discipline is what keeps you consistent over time to build that trust and strengthen those relationships. Strong relationships are built through repeated, intentional actions. That's how we build strong relationships. By showing up, by being there, by checking in, by being present, by following through on what we promised to do, on what we trusted to do, on what we said we were going to do. It is the big moments. The big moments are important, and we want to celebrate those big moments. I'm not dogging those big moments in any way, shape, or form. The big moments are so important, but those big moments are more important. They become grander when we build that strong relationship through consistency, through showing up regularly, through checking in and being present and following through. It's those small things being done repeatedly. So let's talk about one of the biggest areas in relationships, and that's communication. Good communication doesn't happen by accident. It requires discipline. Good communication requires discipline. Communication is the biggest thing in a relationship. Where we are, what's going on, what's happening, how we feel, expression. Communication is vital, and good communication, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens through discipline. It requires discipline in order to do it. First thing is listening with intention. Most people listen to respond. We see that so much in our world today. People are listening for words or thoughts and they want to respond. They want to interrupt. They want to argue their point. But good communication is founded on listening with intention. Disciplined people listen to understand. That means not interrupting. That means not thinking about your reply, but being fully present in what the person is saying, being disciplined. And that takes work. Don't get me wrong. It takes work to train the mind. It takes work to train our bodies and our actions to truly listen to what someone has to say and not just thinking about what we're going to reply to. Oh, I heard these all string of words, but I heard one word back in the beginning, and that's what I'm going to reply to. Listening with intention means that we listen to everything. that we listen to everything, that we're present, that we don't interrupt, that we don't stop the train of thought, unless the only time that we interrupt is if you have to ask a question because something is unclear. Listening with intention. Second thing is saying what needs to be said. Sometimes discipline means having hard conversations. Nobody likes a hard conversation. Nobody likes those conversations that are difficult. But discipline means having those hard conversations, saying what needs to be said, not avoiding them, not delaying them, not pretending everything is fine, but speaking honestly, but with care. That's really important. Speaking honestly with care, saying what needs to be said. I tell people often, you're either fighting the war inside or outside. I don't want to say this because it may upset someone. Yeah, well, you're fighting the war inside because those words are resonating inside of you. Discipline means having hard conversations, even if you don't want to. Not avoiding them, not delaying them, not pretending everything is fine, but speaking honestly, but doing it with care. Doing it with care, speaking in a way that the words are going to come out, saying what needs to be said, but doing it with care. It also means controlling your tone and your words. In emotional moments, it is easy to react. It is easy to spill out. But discipline communicates in ways that choose words carefully. Disciplined communication, it means choosing your words carefully, saying what needs to be said, not just what is felt. Okay, so being able to choose the words necessary and getting them out in a way that is heard and received. So controlling our tone in our words. Disciplined communication builds trust. Undisciplined communication breaks it. So one of the foundational pieces about having healthy, disciplined relationships is communication, is making sure that you're communicating. Now, it's not always easy at first. At first, it becomes difficult. You have to learn that over time. You learn those disciplined communications. Like I said before, we're not born disciplined. We learn discipline. And part of having disciplined relationships is having discipline in communication and being willing to try it and experience it. And if you're with someone that you trust and love, it can be clumsy. And hey, I'm not really sure this is going to work out, but I'm going to say it anyway. It can be clumsy, but doing it. Getting that good communication, not by accident, but by discipline, by learning how to do it, by reflecting and growing into it so that your communication is disciplined. All right? So let's go a little bit deeper into this because there's emotional discipline within relationships as well. Not just communication discipline, but emotional discipline within relationships. Relationships are emotional. They are. That's why we connect with people. We connect with people on emotional levels. And emotions can be so powerful. They can be some of the most powerful things that we have in our lives. But if emotions are not managed, they can damage connection. That's the thing. This is not about eliminating emotion from relationships. This is about learning how to manage them, how to make sure that we're managing our emotions in a way that are disciplined so that they don't damage connection. I mean, here's some examples of that. Reacting out of anger. I mean, we all get angry. Anger is a part of our human vocabulary. We all get angry. But when we react out of it, that can cause damage within the connection. Shutting down instead of engaging is another way that emotional discipline without emotional discipline, we can shut down rather than engage. Letting frustration build instead of addressing it. When I work with people, I talk a lot about kind of the pressure cooker effect. We get things just build up and build up and build up, and then there's an explosion. And when there's the explosion, all that frustration and fear and anger and impatience just pours out, and it comes out in a wave that is almost unmanageable. Because we don't deal with things and address things when they need. They just build up inside. They don't go away. They just build up, and we layer and layer and layer, and then boom, they just come out. And they come out in such a force that which needs to be addressed is overshadowed by everything else. So that's an undisciplined emotional relationship. To have discipline within a relationship emotionally is to pause before reacting. Again, and that is not to say that the anger isn't present, and maybe it needs to be addressed, but when we pause before we react, we can control and manage and do it with care and grace, because the relationship is more important than the anger. And if the relationship is not more important than the anger, then let the anger come out. But if the relationship is more important than the anger, that doesn't mean you're not angry. That doesn't mean that what happened doesn't make you angry. But when we pause before reacting, we can put the relationship at the center and then deal with what the anger is about. choosing calm over chaos. Choosing calm over chaos. So choosing to be calm rather than chaotic within the relationship. Being able to address things, but choosing calmness in that. And responding instead of reacting. You know, when we let frustration build up inside of us and we let that pressure cooker effect, then we react. Something happens, boom, and it just all explodes out. Responding. You know what? That thing that you said or did was hurtful or frustrating, and I want to respond to it. I want to respond in a way that can help us grow forward. A lot of this means putting the relationship at the center. A disciplined emotional relationship says the relationship is most important. Not to say that my emotions aren't, not to say that what I'm feeling isn't, not that at all, but the relationship is what's at center. And so pausing before reacting, choosing calm over chaos, responding instead of just reacting out of emotion can help bring discipline and growth. Again, and please don't hear me say that we want to weed out emotions. And I'm sure somebody might hear that, I'm just an emotional person, and so I can't be in relationships. No, that's not what I'm saying, my friends, not at all. All I'm saying is that we want to be disciplined in our emotions. We want to make sure that they come out in such a way that strengthens the relationship and moves it forward. Because if we're not, then those emotions can come out and they can be damaging. They can break connection. They can cause people to pull away. And those relationships can become fractured. So here's a simple practice for you. When emotions rise, all right, whenever it is, when emotions rise, pause. Just pause and breathe. Ask, what response will help this situation, not hurt it? What response will help this situation and not hurt it? Emotional discipline protects your relationships. That's really important. When we can discipline our emotions, it protects our relationships. When we can't, when they just pour out, it can have a deeper impact on the relationship than just the moment. It can break trust. It can break connection. It can break a unity or an advancement or a growth and set things back. That's really important. So discipline in communication is important, and discipline in our emotions is important. And understanding within the midst of relationships that there will be days when you don't feel like engaging. That's another thing about relationships and discipline. There'll be days when you don't feel like engaging. There's days when you don't feel like engaging in yourself. You know, you're tired, you're stressed, you're distracted. And this is where discipline can really have a good impact. This is where discipline can really overrun that, because relationships require effort. They do, even when it's not convenient. Discipline helps us stay engaged when we just don't feel like it, when we just don't feel like engaging. Now, again, please keep in mind, there are days when we just can't engage. When we're like super busy, or maybe we're exhausted, or maybe we're dysregulated. That happens. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about those days when you can't do it. You're done. You're tapped out. I'm talking about those mild days when you just don't feel like engaging, when you just don't feel like, you don't want to connect. But relationships require effort, even when it's not convenient, even when it doesn't have that positive, it requires effort. Like checking in with a friend, or spending time with your family, or being present in a conversation, or offering support. These things aren't always easy. They're really not, but they're necessary. They're necessary, and discipline helps us to do them even when we don't feel like being engaged. Now, again, please don't hear me say that we're supposed to empty ourselves even more when we feel empty. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that there are days when we're just mildly not feeling like we want to engage, but discipline helps us engage anyway, particularly in those relationships that truly matter. As someone who is married, there are days when I'm tired. There are days when I'm exhausted. There are days when I'm stressed or distracted. And sometimes I'm not fully engaged and I'm not fully connected. But if that happens over and over again, that relationship is going to fracture. It's going to fall apart. Not because I want it to, but because I'm not engaging. So discipline helps me engage even when I don't always feel like showing up. It helps me engage even in those days when I'm tired or stressed or distracted, because relationships matter. They truly do. So let's get practical here for a minute. I like to be practical. I like to give you something you can grasp onto. Let's be practical. 3 simple habits that you can start that will help build discipline within your relationships. Daily check-ins. When we get out of ourselves, when we reach out to someone intentionally, a message, a call, a conversation, daily check-ins, make it a daily habit to foster a healthy relationship, to be disciplined in it. Again, we've talked before, discipline trains our mind. When we do something over and over again, it trains our mind. So be disciplined in your relationships. Be disciplined in it. Be intentional. Make those intentional daily check-ins. Choose somebody. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's someone you haven't talked to in a while. Maybe it's someone maybe if you're building this habit, you just want to build with one person. Look, I want to build this discipline. And so I'm going to choose this person to text every day or to call or to message. And when you do, be fully present. Be fully present. When you're with someone, be there. Put down the phone and focus on the moment. That's one of the things I see so often. People will not be present. They'll be in conversation with someone, but they'll be on their phone. They're always looking at their phone. They're always looking around. Be fully present. That's a habit that you can work on. Be fully present. And if you can't, then be clear about that. I'm waiting for a phone call from my doctor's office, so that's why I keep looking at my phone. Or I'm waiting for this. Be fully present when you're with someone. Be fully present that this is happening. Okay? Put down the phone, be present in the moment. Be present in the immediate moment. And express appreciation. Express appreciation. Say something positive. Acknowledge effort. Show gratitude. One of the things that can happen when we come into a relationship or conversation with people, it can be an outpouring of complaining or the things that are wrong, politics and money and the economy and all this kind of stuff. Express appreciation. Be attentive to say something positive. Show gratitude. These are small actions, but they can have a huge impact because consistent care builds strong connections, and it builds this habit of making connections stronger, of that discipline of relationships. So these are 3 small things that you can do. You can start today of building these healthy, emotional, communicative relationships. So ask yourself, take a moment. Where is my relationships that I need to put more discipline into? Where do I need more communication? Is it consistency? Is it emotional control? Where in my relationships do I need more discipline? Take a moment to think about that. Think about those relationships that are closest to you. Would they benefit and grow if you had more discipline in them? Would they grow and benefit with more communication, with more consistency, with more emotional control? And what's that one small step you can take today? That one small thing. The quality of your relationship reflects the consistency of your actions. So your actions will show the quality of your relationship. So if you want to grow in your relationships, then be disciplined. Be disciplined in your communication. Be disciplined in your consistency. Be disciplined in your emotional control. Work on that. Grow into that. And if you have intimate relationships, strong relationships that you really want to work on, then bring someone in. Ask for help. Ask for guidance. This is how we grow in relationships. It's so, so important. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. That's what I have for you today. If it's helpful, I ask you to please share it out there. Put it out there in your social media feeds. Put it out there on your on the listening platforms. If you want to reach out to me directly, gracelifecoaching.com is the website. I really, truly do hope that you can see the power of this, the power of discipline within your relationships and how they can make relationships grow. So keep showing up, keep staying present, keep being intentional. Remember, at Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.